All right, so do you have any questions for us?
Or about our experiences.
Yes. All right, so you can either unmute your microphone and just directly ask us the question, or just go ahead and type in the chat.
How old are you?
Unmute your microphone.
I did. All right, Derek.
Shout out to Central.
No.
How did they get all this information?
Yeah, come up here.
Wait, can they hear us?
I don't know how they.
Oh, okay.
Talking about.
So the question we got is, what is the food in our school's cafeterias like?
So in Argentina, you actually don't eat at the school for lunch. You have, like I said, there's morning classes and afternoon sessions. So usually, either before your session or after your session, students go and get lunch. It's common to eat at home, but there's also lots of stands. The most popular stand is not a stand. That's where I ate at school, because most of my classmates did, or just like at little surrounding cafes. So I'd say around that time, merienda is an extremely popular meal in Argentina.
Anybody else have a question?
It's like a tea time, because they eat so late in the day. Like they don't have dinner until like night. So they eat a little snack during the day. So at merienda, it's common to have tea or coffee, and empanada, like sandwiches, bread, things of that sort. So I would say that that's commonly eaten for lunch.
How do you say prepare in
So in
Argentina?
Ghana, in private schools, the food that they eat is mostly traditional food, what they would even eat at the same type of food they would eat at home. So I would say a lot of rice, a lot of different types of rice, and plantains and beans, just general Ghanaian food.
What is their language? I don't know how to.
Next question. All right. So the next one is, what stands out?
Yeah, but
So our next question is, what stands out most about our experiences?
all right,
in
babe,
Ghana?
I'm not going to put that in there because I don't want to make us.
I would have to say the thing that surprised me most about Argentina was just people. They're all very friendly and affectionate. They greet each other by kissing each other,
about their school,
which
baby.
was a little different for me, but I really liked it.
Look at some of these other questions.
Felt very welcomed.
Elementary schools
Everyone that I met
in one class, or are they departmentalized?
invited me for
How
dinner.
did you get all this information? Well, we did that.
Just like was willing to like help me out in any way possible, which are not quite as open new relationships here in the States as Argentines are, which I enjoyed going to Argentina, feeling that warmth.
What stood out most to me about Ghana is the vibrantness and the liveliness of the people. For example,
As many as we have in our world, in our life.
no matter where you were, you could be on the street, you could be in your cars, but there was also always somebody selling stuff. So what surprised me most during like most of my first visits was when I was would be traveling on the highway and there'll be traffic. People would be on the highway, which you might not think is safe, but on the highway they would sell like water and gum, just anything maybe to make your experience more pleasurable. And also what stood out to me most is that because I am Ghanaian, so like cultural values that I was taught at home,
About their school.
wider context wherever I went. So instead of just like having things that I was taught at home being confined to that one space, I would see it everywhere.
What type of math?
Okay, next question is, do schools have libraries, and what kinds of books do students read?
Okay, our next question is, do the schools have libraries, and what type of books do the students read?
Oh, and actually, some people are having a hard time hearing. Can you remind everyone to mute their mics?
Oh, okay. So apparently some people are having a hard time hearing. So if everyone can actually mute their mics just to get rid of that static. Thank you. Okay, so libraries in Argentina. Most private schools that I visited did have libraries, and they had all types of books similar to the ones here in the U.S. They also had a wide variety of like CDs and DVDs and things of that sort to check out. Public schools, I only went to one school, and I did not see a library there, but there were a lot of public libraries in the surrounding area. So I believe that's where the students would go to check out any textbooks or just novels that they want to read.
With getting books in Ghana, I'm not really too sure about it, but I know that you do have to, most times you have to go outside and have to purchase your own books. But I would assume that in the private schools in which people pay a lot more for, that they do have libraries.
Next question is, how much would it cost to go to a private school?
Okay, so how much would it cost to go to a private school? That's the next question. I do not have an answer for this question. I know that private schools are a pretty common thing in Argentina. So I don't think it can be like wildly expensive. To talk about the currency of Argentina a bit, they use pesos. And right now in Argentina, $1 will get you around like 11 to 12 Argentine pesos. So if a U.S. citizen, like one of you guys, were to travel to Argentina, private school would be a lot cheaper for you than it would be for an Argentine citizen just because of the change in currency.
And in Ghana, I also do not know the cost of a private school, but since some private schools are boarding and some private schools are also day-to-day, I would assume that the private schools which are day-to-day cost more than the private schools that are boarding, because the boarding schools is a traditional thing, so most students are always sent back back to the boarding schools. So I would assume that that's less, because since it's a traditional thing, than the private schools which are day-to-day in which everybody can go home.
Do elementary school students stay in one place throughout the day, or are they departmentalized?
So next question is, do elementary school students stay in one place the entire day, or do they move around throughout the day depending on the subject or department? In Argentina, there isn't just like one classroom where like the entire grade learns. There's like different classrooms for like different elementary school levels, like grades 1, 2, 3, etc. But they stay in that classroom the entire day. They don't move around depending on what subject they're studying at the time.
Well, in Ghana, it really would depend, since the school, they do have private boarding and then public schools. It really just depends on what kind of school you go to. But I would say like in the private day-to-day schools, they would have, when moving around to like maybe your science, they might move to a different room. But other than that, they probably would stay the same. But they do have lunch breaks, they do have recess, and they do have after-school activities.
Okay. Next question is, how did you get all of the information and pictures that you shared?
All right, how did we get all of the information and pictures? So I would say that I got most of the information just through experience. I met a lot of people from all grade levels when I went to Argentina. I learned about the university because I was attending one. I became friends with a lot of high schoolers, and I went to a lot of high school football games, or soccer. Soccer games. And I volunteered at middle school and elementary school. And pictures, most of the pictures in this slideshow are just from the internet. However, I did take a lot of pictures in Argentina. Yeah.
And most of my information, I asked some questions from my mother and some questions from my cousin, who's about as old as I am. So she went through the school system, let's say, probably just a few years ago. So I got most of my information from her and what she did, like how she went to lunch, how she went to recess, and most of my pictures, I would say, are from Google too.
The next one was it hard or was it easy to adapt to going to school in another?
Okay, so next question is, was it hard or easy to adapt to going to school in another country? I would say it wasn't necessarily hard, but it did take some getting used to. My school lasted from 1 to 5, and you would think I would have a lot of time in the morning, but Argentines don't go to bed until like 2 a.m., and I quickly got on that time schedule, so I wouldn't wake up until 12:30, and I had to race to class. Getting to class was definitely a challenge because I'm used to driving to school. but I lived in a neighborhood that was about almost an hour, like long soup day ride away. So I had to like walk a few blocks to the subway and then take the subway and then from there walk to class. So that was certainly different. And it was hard just because I was learning in another language and I wasn't used to like solely taking notes. Like I would have to like convert like Spanish to English in my mind back to Spanish on the paper, but it really like helped me learn the language.
For me, I didn't travel to Ghana to study abroad, but I did travel for basically for family purposes. But from my cousin's experience, what she had relayed to me, so I would say she went to elementary school in America, but then she went to middle school and a little bit of high school in Ghana. So from her experience, she had told me that she first enrolled in a public school in which they had to wear the yellow button-up shirts and the brown skirts, and then they had to shave their heads, wear a low cut. And that's what she didn't really like it, and she didn't feel like she felt in. So what she did was transfer to a private school, which was another day-to-day school called Ghana International School. And in that school they had students from all over. So she met people from different cultures there, so she assimilated much better.
Do students stay in one school through K through 12, or do they go to middle school and high school?
Okay, so the next question is, do students stay in one school depending on like primary and secondary school, or do they go to like separate schools? For private school, I believe like it's one large building with K through 12. However, for public schools, it's divided like it is here with primary, lower secondary, upper secondary, and then high school. And then, of course, both in private and public schools, students move on to a university from there.
That's the same way in Ghana. So in private schools, you would basically stay in the same school. It just depends on like what type of school you went to. Like different schools would just do different things. But if you went to public school, you would switch locations.
Some of the girls are asking if you're allowed to wear earrings.
That's an interesting question. Okay. So question is, are you allowed to wear earrings? I never like directly observed this. However, I'm pretty sure in Argentina, in both public and private schools, earrings would be allowed. I'm not sure.
Yeah, in Ghana, I'm not sure, but I feel like in public schools, since they want homogeneity, their earrings aren't allowed. But in private school, I know that they are. Well, some private schools.
So a lot of people are asking more about classes. Like is there a religion class? What kind of math do they do? Are there after-school programs?
Okay, so people are asking about classes in general, just like what classes are offered. Are there religion classes and like after school classes? In public schools, no religion classes are taught. They're trying to like keep that separate. However, in private schools, did I say private before? I meant to say public if I did. In private schools, religion is integrated into like the day-to-day curriculum. And I'm pretty sure there's like a service during the day as well. And after school programs are quite common. They have clubs just like we do here, along with like sports practices and things of that sort.
I would say that religion is integrated into the Ghanaian culture in both public and private, but they probably speak about it in different levels and different terms depending on what type of school you go to. And I would say for after-school activities, they do have clubs which contain soccer and basketball. Those are the main two sports that people play.
We're getting a lot of questions every time I find one.
Okay, so the reason a question was, why do the girls have to shave their heads? And girls have to wear a low cut because they want everybody to have homogeneity. So maybe if one girl could get her hair, they don't want people competing with hairstyles. So maybe if one girl could get her hair braided and another person couldn't afford to get their hair braided or get their hair done the same way. So they didn't want people to feel less inferior to others.
Another question is, do students learn about other countries around the world?
Okay, so the question was, do students learn about other countries around the world? I would say in both public and private schools, like a global curriculum is integrated into the classroom like very early on. I was almost embarrassed when I went because the United States is so like self-centered that we kind of forget to look around ourselves at times. However, in Argentina, they knew so much about other cultures. So I would say that that's definitely integrated not only into the classrooms of Argentina, but just like the day-to-day lives in general.
Okay, I would say that in Ghana, I'm not sure what are the smaller countries that they do learn about, but they do learn a lot about like Britain, Great Britain, London, and the United States, because a lot of people have family members who are over there, so they hear stories and they're very just intrigued about that, so they do incorporate that and learn about that in Ghana.
And how have your experiences abroad affected how you view American culture?
All right, so the question is, how have our experiences abroad affected how we view American culture? I definitely came back here and I immediately noticed that our day-to-day schedule is much more like regimented. We're an extremely like competitive society. We're slightly colder. In Argentina, everything's very like laid back, kind of loose. I don't know. Work environments are not like super strict. I guess I could talk a little bit about times in Argentina and how if you like a joke in Argentina is if you like tell an Argentine like, all right, I'll meet you for dinner at 8, like you're lucky if they show up at like 10. Like, and I definitely experienced that on several different occasions. Everyone's kind of late to everything, but that's just kind of the culture. It's very laid back. So I came back to the United States surprised by how laid back other countries are in comparison to us.
That's definitely the same in Ghana. You could tell somebody 8 and they might come 3-4 hours later, just like in Argentina, but it's accepted. Like nobody expects anybody to show up on time to things, and if you do, then it's kind of considered just weird. But also, I learned that in America, it is more competitive. People in Ghana, they do want to succeed and do good, but it's more of a relaxed system.
What about bullying and discipline? Are there bullying issues, and then how do teachers deal with discipline issues?
All right, so the question was addressing like bullying and discipline. I don't know too much about this. However, one soccer game that I went to at a middle school, I saw like these kids, I don't think they were bullying each other. I'm sure bullying is prevalent if they have like a no tolerance policy. However, these guys were just like messing around. They got really into the soccer game, and a teacher kind of had to come over and tell them to like calm down, to split up, and they were taken out of the game and they had to watch. So in terms of discipline, that's the only thing I witnessed, but I'm going to assume that it's pretty similar to how it is here in the U.S.
And I would say the same thing because I have not witnessed bullying or I don't know about the discipline system. So I can't really give you guys an answer for that one.
There's also a question about recycling programs and if students or other community members are environmentally conscious.
All right, so this is a question about recycling programs in schools and just how environmentally conscious the community is. While in Argentina, I did not see a lot of recycle bins, and littering is definitely a problem. I was kind of surprised by that, so that's one thing the U.S. has over Argentina. In the schools themselves, I didn't see too many like green initiatives here. Like we have like lots of clubs promoting like recycling or just like being green, and I didn't see a whole lot of that in Argentina.
Well, in Ghana, I don't know about in the school system, but in my grandparents' house and basically like at a lot of other family members' homes, they would have, instead of canned sodas, most people drink sodas out of glass bottles. So it was a big thing to recycle a glass bottle. Like you shouldn't like throw away a glass bottle because that would not be good. And after you like recycle the glass bottle, you have to send it in.
Miriam, they're wondering if you speak Spanish fluently.
Okay, question is, do I speak Spanish fluently? No, I do not. I'm hoping to get there. I can survive in a Spanish-speaking country, but it's definitely not fluent.
Do teachers pay for supplies in their classrooms and things for their students?
Okay, so the question is, do teachers pay for the supplies in their classrooms? In private schools, I believe it's mainly funded by the contributions of like alumni and community members and things like that. So I don't think the teachers have to pay for too many things. Like I said, the public school systems are not that strong in Argentina, so I'm sure some materials are provided, like if there is a computer in the classroom, but I do know that teachers have to go out and buy a lot of things for students if the students don't already provide them for themselves.
I would say the same as in Ghana. For example, with computers, everybody doesn't like have a personal laptop like a lot of people have here. So only computers are really offered like in the computer informational class. And I know from my cousin's experience, like she said, she would be afforded a notebook in every class, just and a pencil and pen just to take notes.
Are there math textbooks? And in general, what kind of homework do students have? Do they have to read a certain number of pages or worksheets?
All right, so the question is, are there math textbooks and what is the homework like for students? I do not know if there are math textbooks. I saw students carrying lots of textbooks around, so I'm assuming that yes, there are math textbooks. In terms of homework, I would say that there are less long-term assignments like there are here. Like we'll be given lots of time to like work on a cumulative project or an essay, whereas a lot of students in Argentina have like a workbook, and every night they're assigned to fill out like a certain number of pages that correlate with the lesson that they learned in the classroom that day.
And I would say in Ghana, homework is really basically you would have a textbook and you would do your homework and then just hand it in the next day. It's not really long term either.